I'm Nick Snow, watching Government for Oil and Gas Journal in Washington, D.C. Amid recurring declarations that the U.S. government in western states need to closely work together, Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval, a Republican, reminded two federal agencies' top administrators that the idea should apply to controlling methane emissions from oil and gas operations. In his capacity as president of the Western Governors Association, he mentioned to U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Gina McCarthy and U.S. Bureau of Land Management Director Neil Kornze that state and federal agencies are co-regulators of oil and gas activity in the West. The purpose of this letter is to request that the agency engage in meaningful consultation with state regulators, including governors, in advance of the release of its methane emissions reduction proposal, Sandoval said in separate letters to both on May 20th. He said EPA plans to propose a rule this summer under Clean Air Act Section 111B to establish revised new source performance standards for oil wells and for natural gas processing and transmission sources it does not otherwise currently regulate. BLM, meanwhile, is preparing its own proposed rule to address methane venting, flaring, and leakage from new and existing wells on public lands, Sandoval noted. Some western states have already taken substantial steps to reduce atmospheric emissions of methane from oil and gas development operations. Many have implemented state regulations, he told both federal agency leaders. He attached a copy of WGA Policy Resolution 2015-12, which covers regulating methane emissions. In addition to closer federal-state cooperation, it calls for methane, quote, commoditization, end quote, to encourage its capture and sale while providing economic value for states. It is through early collaboration and consultation that federal agencies in western states can best work together to protect western air resources while achieving the mandates and fulfilling the needs of both, Sandoval maintained. His reminders came a week before BLM and the U.S. Forest Service jointly released 14 final environmental impact statements and proposed federal land management plans in Cheyenne, Wyoming, to protect the greater sage-grouse and its habitat in 11 western states. U.S. Interior Secretary Sally Jewell and Wyoming Governor Matt Mead, a Republican, spoke extensively there about cooperative efforts, which also involve oil and gas producers, ranchers, sportsmen, local communities, environmental groups, and other stakeholders. Two other governors also weighed in. Colorado's John A. Hickenlooper, a Democrat, said he was cautiously optimistic, but continued to believe state-led efforts are the best way to protect the bird. Utah's Gary R. Herbert, a Republican, said that while officials there would examine the plan, quote, we are already concerned that the federal agencies do not endorse certain vital conservation measures necessary for success in the Utah environment, end quote. That's Watching Government for this week. In Washington, I'm Nick Snow for Oil and Gas Journal.